I don't know if the rest of you have ever tried to center align something on the web. I do believe it's impossible, absolutely impossible to center align something using CSS and JavaScript. But that's not what I wanted to talk to you guys today about. Today, I really wanted to talk to you guys about failure. And I know it's everyone's favorite subject, failure, and when we can't do something. But I thought that as a software channel, it was time to have an honest discussion with you about failure, share what my viewpoints on the subject is, and then dive into some small examples in my own life, as well as help illuminate for you guys why I haven't made a video in the past couple of weeks. Actually, it might have been a little over a month. So let's dive into failure, some of the failures affecting me recently, and why I haven't got you a new video.
3, 2, 1, 0.
The No Channel.
So in general, what I like to tell any and everyone on all my teams is that mistakes are only failures if we refuse to learn from them. I have seen 3 major reasons failures, not mistakes, actually happen. The first one is if we are too arrogant to recognize or admit we have made a mistake. This is one of the reasons I preach humility among software engineers. Even if you are just that good, humility will do you well. Second is if we're too ashamed we have failed to do something that we never bring it up to talk about it. Or if we're not in an environment where we feel comfortable to expose ourselves like that due to negative or possible negative repercussions. And lastly, the third one is that management does not put forth the effort or the time to actually review and fix mistakes that happen, because you actually have to fix whatever process failed, not just realize that it wasn't anybody's fault. So the very first issue is a self issue. Being arrogant results in the inability to properly self-evaluate, making it harder, if not impossible, for you to have an honest evaluation of your performance. It makes us less likely to accept feedback and more aggressive in pushing our own ideas because they are the best, and it hampers your ability to learn from other people and stunts your growth. All right, and so the second is kind of 2 tightly coupled together issues, and really I think revolve around company culture for the most part, and really affect the environment and management. As management, I think it's really important to lead by example. If you want your engineers to feel comfortable talking about their mistakes, if you want people to feel safe bringing up things that they obviously are going to feel insecure about, so that resolutions can be reached quickly and the entire team can learn, well, the best way is to be open and vulnerable with them. Call out your own mistakes. This not only shows people it's safe by example, but should also ensure people don't feel ashamed as they see everyone else making mistakes. Leadership should always lead by example, and this is no other difference. Moving on to the third reason, I can't tell you how many times I've seen this happen in the real world. Maybe one of the biggest reasons that failures actually happen. This is where time to do full retrospectives of failures, or the time to ensure frameworks and processes are properly enacted or updated to ensure it does not happen again, is not given. Let me give you an example. I'm sure this has happened to everyone. Employee X pushes some code that causes a negative performance regression. This has, again, probably happened to everyone. Now, it's important at this point that we figure out the 3 whys and the single how. Why was there not a performance test to capture this if it was an important metric? Why did code reviews not catch it? And why did QA not catch it? Then the last thing we can say is, how can we automate this to ensure this metric never regresses in the future? So you first need to answer the whys, of course. But the answers are not all that's necessarily needed, especially in the world of software, because at this point you might know why, but you need to do a full retrospective figuring out how you can avoid this in the future. Not only that, you need time to implement the thing, whatever that is, so that it doesn't happen again. This can be better tests. This can be a new testing framework. This can be end-to-end tests. It doesn't matter, but you need the time, and management needs to ensure you have the time needed to learn and mitigate these mistakes. So why is this so important? Well, if you don't adopt this culture of no blame, team mistakes as learning objectives, then you adopt one of fear. Fear of things where maybe important things get hidden or patched in not a good way, and not following best practices to try and keep bad consequences from happening to good individuals. I say no blame, but I don't really mean that. I usually mean if there is someone to blame, it's probably management or process failing. You will find I'm actually really hard on management in general, and if you find a good management team or manager, I would say stick with them for the end of time. They are better than having a cool project to work on 100% of the time. I have in the past been super blessed to learn and work for some of the best managers and management teams ever. I have also worked with some that fall so far short of even the acceptable management practices. Don't get me wrong. I have a lot to learn about management myself, and I am not perfect at management. I don't think anybody is. And anyone that tells you that they're perfect at management and know best about managing people probably has even more to learn. Most of the good ones are humble about their abilities, as that's the best way to continue learning. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think that mistakes are good per se, especially if you keep making them. My point merely is, as long as we take them as learning points, we can all grow, and this is good. Not only good, this is great if we all learn from them. This is why I think code reviews are usually done so wrong. I cannot stress, so wrong. Most people look at reviewing code as a means to ensure my high standard or protect from bugs and other very self-righteous nonsense like that. This is a horrible reason to review code. It is a absolute worst reason to review code. While in the end, high quality code with as few bugs as possible is desirable and should be our outcome that we're striving towards. I repeat though, this is not why you review the code. There are other techniques that look to achieve this better. This might sound like a contradiction at first, but how you really should review code is not to find mistakes, but to help people learn from any mistakes you might possibly find. Not just the person who wrote the code, but also for yourself. If your goal is not to help someone from your code review, just don't review it and save us all the time and effort. Helping them learn will help ensure a high quality product with fewer bugs. Once your motivation for reviewing code changes, you start to see a whole lot fewer nits and pointless squabblings because you attack the issue from a different angle, an angle where quite possibly you as the reviewer will learn something yourself. I just like to bring up a mind thought here. What if Linus Torvald had taken this mindset when he was reviewing code? How many more experts would we have in the Linux kernel? How many people have not, or just simply not, or stopped contributing because of this environment? This is why I feel as a software channel, it's so important to talk about mistakes and failures, how to deal with it, and let you know some of my own failures. Now, in the future, I plan on opening up to you all about a lot more of my failures, whether it be code or just in making these videos, because I have learned a lot about code and making videos. But for right now, I'm just going to talk to you about my very latest failure and why I haven't made a video in over a month. And hopefully This will help us learn to better help people and in turn grow ourselves. Now, I warn you, just because you mitigate some mistake, and this mistake might have caused your service to go down, this doesn't mean that your service won't go down again. It just means that hopefully, if the mistake was properly mitigated, it won't go down for the same reason. Not that it won't ever go down again. Now, you guys might be a little confused. This video is not about code review. It's just about mistakes and failures in general, kind of in general in life, but from a software developer's perspective. Well, today we're not going to focus on a failing in my code, which that will be the next video if you watch it. I look at most of these things pretty much the same way. What did I attempt to do? So lay out what I'm attempting to do, why it didn't work the way I thought that it should, and what I can do in the future that should mitigate these issues that kept me from achieving my objective. This way, I don't repeat the same mistakes and get the same outcome because of the same mistakes. This would be a failure and really isn't very acceptable in my books. Now, it still happens and we just need to learn to get back up again because we don't always remember our past mistakes. So what did I try to do? Well, about a month ago, I set out to make a video on Kubeflow at home. Let me be clear, my first ML and Kubeflow videos were hard to follow, requiring a deep understanding of Kubernetes and Kubeflow, and a lot of people struggled to follow along. So my goal was to set out and make Kubeflow video that was easy to follow along with, and anyone could make the same setup at home on their home server with very little variation. I had found a technology called MicroK8s and had a Kubeflow plugin, and it was awesome. It just kind of worked and took 2 lines of code on the terminal to install. I could not have found a better solution, and so I made a video on it, and I was loving it on my desktop. Once the video was recorded, I was moving my install to my home server and recording that part when disaster struck. You can only access this install from the machine that it runs on. In the end, I had to expose it by an HA proxy Raspberry Pi with a SOCKS proxy to the machine. This was a horrible mess. It was hard to follow, and I just could not come to you all with this being the solution that I was proposing. So then I went back to the drawing board, trying countless things to get my original solution that was so simple to work. And this just included tons of complicated configuration, an extra piece of hardware with the Raspberry Pi HA proxy SOCKS, and you know what? I just scrapped the whole thing and went back to the drawing board looking for another solutions for running Kubeflow at home altogether. And I was experimenting over and over. And I was trying to find something really quickly and easily that you guys could follow along with in the future. But now I had a new problem. I had been looking only at Kubeflow solutions specifically, but it turns out there are these other things we could use that might be better at home. MLflow, Airflow, and TinyML are just a few of the ones that we could look at. And here is the classic scope creep. And this scope creep was bad. I had spent a ton of time now looking at solutions, but not sharing any of my findings with you at all. Not at all. Not yet, at least. I had gotten a lot of subscribers, and honestly, I was afraid to tell you all I was struggling to come up with a simple solution for all of you. Not all comments have been exactly nice, though most of you are super supportive and here to learn along with me. But this still caused me to be afraid. It's hard to be vulnerable to a group of people who have no real ties to you. And I realized I was not practicing what I preach. I honestly am more comfortable sharing my mistakes at work with my team than I am sharing them with you on YouTube. I guess the audience is wider and I was really struggling with it. I am looking to put a stop to that today. When I realized that there is so much I learned on the subject, even though I can't tell you what I think is a best solution right now that everyone could follow along with. but I can give you a lot of information on how each one of these solutions poses its own challenges that I was not able to overcome in a simple manner. And I was afraid to share my failings to make that simple with you guys. But then it struck me. Maybe one of you guys have the answers to one of my issues, and I wasted all this time by not sharing what I know so far. I know I have shared a lot of info, but I have not been as open when I was failing to accomplish something I set out to do. Well, that stops today. I failed to create a video about a simple Kubeflow install at home, and I'm making a video on exactly what caused me to fail. I hope you all learn half as much as I have learned from trying to make that video. Now, while I think that the walled garden videos are good in their own right, giving you this perfect little example to follow and get started with, the real learning is from the mistakes. So I'm going to look to bring you both types of video, maximizing your learning through my mistakes. Not only will you hopefully understand my point of view better moving forward, but hopefully I'm able to get feedback from you all and I can use that information from you guys to make everything better. All of my videos and all my content will be made better by the community, which is what open source is all about. Community. You're part of that community. So, as I like to say and tell all my team members, a mistake is only a failure if you refuse to learn something from it. I like to encourage my and other teams to be open about their mistakes, so not only can they learn from it, but also so can the rest of us. How many times have I pointed out to a blog of a company doing a retrospective on one of their failures and praised them for it? So in that spirit, I just wanted to talk about my failures and how we're going to talk more about them in the future. Please feel free to comment below if you think of other good points we can learn from this. And I give each of you the permission to call out all my mistakes in all my future videos. Do it. Let's learn from any of my mistakes. Now, that being said, your motive for calling out a mistake should be to help myself, yourself, and others learn. If it's not, then just please don't comment and don't subscribe. We don't need that here, and we're all about learning from our mistakes, and we should all feel free and comfortable to experiment, try things, and mistake a little. Or a lot. I'm looking at you, M1 Mac Mini memory issue video. That was maybe a mistake. Very last thing I want to say is, I'm sorry. I know you all have not gotten a new video from me, and this is not the video you were wanting. But this is the video we needed. This is the video I needed. If for nothing else but to let you all know what was going on and why it's been so long. But also for me, I've always championed the idea of learning from our mistakes, and the only way for us to learn from other mistakes is if we are honest and share. And this has been one of my mistakes. If we don't talk about our mistakes, if we don't bring them to light, it makes it very hard to learn from. And even if I know of the mistake and do a retrospective, but don't share it with you guys, it makes it hard or impossible for you guys to learn from it. That being said, you can expect an MLOps at home video from me soon. This will be a video full of documenting my many failures to create an easy to use ML pipeline at home. I'm actually so much more happy with where the video is going now than I have been, even though it doesn't deliver anything near a perfect solution and is mostly my flawed attempts at a perfect solution. And I will try and wrap all those lessons together and bring you something that is a walled garden ML at home that you can also learn from and contribute to if you have ideas. I want to thank every last one of you who has been around for my YouTube creating journey. You all are awesome, and I absolutely mean that from the bottom of my heart. I have made some just horrible videos, and not all of you unsubscribed at the first sight of a bad or a few bad videos. So if you did not like this video, if you are too good to make mistakes or just prefer to fail alone, go ahead, don't hit that subscribe button and keep failing alone. But if you would like to fail along with the rest of us, go ahead, hit that subscribe button and stick around to mistake with the rest of us.